Hello everyone, this is Daniel from CA Learning. In today's video, we are going to speak about regular verb spelling rules. In other words, we are going to learn how to write regular verbs in the simple past. So make sure you grab a pen and a piece of paper so you can start taking notes about this interesting topic. Let's get started. To speak about this, we need to clarify two terms, regular verbs and irregular verbs. So, regular verbs pretty much play by the rule. In other words, if you want to write regular verbs in the simple past, you need to add either d, ed, or ied to the base form of the verb to write it in the simple past. On the other hand, irregular verbs are rule breakers. That means that they do not follow this rule of adding d, ed, or ied. They have their own unique past tense form. They either change or they stay the same. We're gonna discuss these concepts throughout the video. Alright, but first we are gonna start with the rules for the regular verbs. Alright, in order for us to write the regular verbs correctly, we need to pay attention to the end of the verb. For example, in the rule number 1, we see that if the verb finishes in E, all we have to do is add in D. We have some examples on the screen, like the verbs like, smile, live, change, arrive, love, create, and care. On this video, we are focusing on the spelling, not on the pronunciation. So even though these E's are silent, we are going to pay attention to them because we are trying to write them in the past. So all we have to do for these verbs to be in the past is adding D at the end, as you can see on these examples. So remember, all the time when a verb finishes in E, all you have to do is adding D at the end. Now, we have rule number 2. The same as in the first examples, we can see that we need to pay attention to the end of the verbs. If the verb, in this case, finishes in consonant plus Y, what we are going to do is drop in the Y at the end of the verb, and instead we are going to add IED. So, in the verbs cry, try, copy, apply, reply, marry, or hurry, all of these verbs finish in Y, and before the Y you can find a consonant. So for us to write these verbs in the simple past, first we need to drop the Y or eliminate it, and then we're going to add IED at the end of the base form of these verbs, as you can see on these examples. Number 3, we have another rule, and the same as the two previous ones, we need to pay attention to the combination of letters at the end of each verb. In this case, what we have to do is to identify if the verb finishes in consonant, vowel, consonant, when the verbs are one syllable. So in the verbs hop, knit, clap, stop, skip, chat, and plant, we can see that they finish in a consonant, vowel, consonant. So what we do here before adding ed is to duplicate or double the final consonant, and after that we can add ed. In this case, however, we have exceptions. The exceptions for this are W, X, and Y. When the verb finishes in consonant, vowel, consonant, but the last consonant is either W, X, or Y, we don't duplicate. All we do is just adding ed at the end of each verb. So we have some examples here, like the verb show, the verb mix, and the verb play. They do finish in consonant, vowel, consonant, but due to the fact they are exceptions, we don't duplicate the final consonant. So it is important to take into considerations these exceptions. So let's move to the next rule. In this rule, it's pretty much the same. We need to identify consonant, vowel, consonant, but as you can see, these verbs have more than one syllable. They have two. They might have more. So in the verbs regret, admit, omit, occur, submit, and commit, we will duplicate the final consonant, but it is important to pay attention to the stress of the word. For example, in the verb regret, the stress goes in the last syllable. and in admit, omit, occur, submit, and commit as well. So it is important to identify the consonant, vowel, consonant, and we need to make sure as well that the stress in these verbs is at the end, in the last syllable. All right, so we will go to the next rule that is very similar to this, but the stress is different. So in the verbs that have two syllables and finish in consonant, vowel, consonant, we need to make sure the verb has the stress in the first consonant, not at the end. If the verb has the stress in the first consonant, like in the verbs open, answer, listen, pamper, or visit, as you can see, the stress is in the first syllable, not in the second one. In these cases, we do not duplicate the final consonant. All we do is add an ed at the end of these verbs. So between this rule and the previous one, what matters is the stress. If the stress is in the first consonant, we don't duplicate. If it is in the last one, we do duplicate. So it is important to pay attention to the stress and the pronunciation of the verbs in the base form to decide either if we have to duplicate the final consonant or if we don't need to duplicate the final consonant. Alright, here we have a nice fun fact. So whenever the verb finishes in consonant, vowel, consonant, but the final consonant is an L, in these cases, we can either duplicate the L or not to do it. Either way is going to be okay. So you can either write cancelled with double L or just with one L. The same happens with travel, label, or any other verb which last consonant is L. So both cases are okay, so feel free to do as you want to. Alright, now we have the final rule. This is the simplest. If the verb doesn't finish in E or doesn't finish in consonant, vowel, consonant, all we do is just add an ed at the end. For example, the verb talk, want, play, work, call, join, paint, or finish. They don't finish in consonant, vowel, consonant, neither finish in E. Alright, well, in the case of the verb play is an exception of the duplication. So all what we do in these examples is adding ed at the end of each verb. Alright, so now we are going to briefly speak about irregular verbs. We have pretty much some verbs that change or have a unique way to write the simple past, like in the cases of the verbs buy, go, pay, take, and catch. In these verbs, the simple past is a totally different word, so they don't have a rule that we can rely on. And some of them don't change at all. For example, the verb cost, cut, let, hit, and set. As you can see, the simple present or the present form and the past form are exactly the same. So there is no change on these verbs. So if you want to get more information about irregular verbs, I'm going to recommend you a video. You will find it on the corner of the screen. It's going to pop up in any time of the video, and you can check there. We have a list of some verbs that, due to the fact that they don't have a rule, you will need to learn them. You can practice them, write them down, and make some examples. Alright, so now it is time to practice. So what you have to do is to write the past tense form of the following verbs, taking into consideration the appropriate spelling rules that we studied during this video. So I'm going to give you some seconds. You can pause the video if you need to, and then I'm going to show you the answers. Alright, time's up. This is the answer key. You can compare the answers you wrote with the answers right here on the screen. I hoped you did a great job with this exercise. And well, pretty much that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you like this content or if you want to learn more grammar, make sure you subscribe to our channel and you hit the like button. Thank you so much for joining us today and have a nice day. See you on the next video.